Hi everyone, welcome to the Coach's Room. This is episode 5. Today we're joined by myself, Ryan, Harry and James as always. And today we've got two guests, Plamen and Sagwati. Guys, we'll give you a quick 1-minute introduction about yourselves. That'll be great. So Plamen, do you want to start us off?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. My name is Plamen Pantev. Recently I've joined, it's been 2 years now, I've joined UCFB Wembley University. I'm level 2 coach in football. I'm coaching AFC Wimbledon girls. That's all about me.
Perfect, short and sweet, like it. Sage, fire away, pal.
Hi, my name is Sagwati. I'm UFB qualified coach. I work with Ryan with the pre-academy at PNE. Also do the girls football PNE women's football club. I coach under 12s there. And looking forward to having this conversation with you guys today and getting to know Harry and James and Plamen as well.
Great stuff, great stuff. Open up the first topic. So why at the foundation phase is there such a big emphasis on the dribbler? You know, there is a lot of emphasis around, beating your player 1v1, being able to defend 1v1, which is rightly agreed with. But do we sometimes forget about the passer, the one that can play passes that no one else can really see on the pitch, even at such a young age? Sage, me and you had a phone call a couple of weeks ago now you kind of felt quite passionately about this. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, it's just obviously I agree with you about dribblers and stuff. So I think it's a huge part of the game. It's very important. But I was just thinking back about if children were to have Twitter or social media, they wouldn't take part in football because they only see how great that dribble was or how great players taking players on. And I feel like there's no place for them in the game of it. If someone can pass the ball, especially at such a young age, there's no place for them in the game because they're just passes and that's it. But also, there's also this thing about staying on the ball. Come on, you got to stay on the ball. Which for me, sometimes you can stay on the ball by making a good pass. Maybe as coaches, we shouldn't always try to take a player on. If a player passes the ball and they miss the pass, we shouldn't always go, maybe we should have taken the play on. Maybe the information we could give is maybe the pass could have been just given more information how to make the pass. So maybe they used the wrong part of the foot, or the other player was marked, or it shouldn't have been a short pass instead of a long pass, or could have been in the air instead of on the ground, or vice versa. So I think that's what I feel like. Sometimes we don't pass the ball, take the play on. I think we should be just as passionate about players that can pass the ball, even though they make mistakes.
Yeah, I think that stems. I think you bang on with what you said. That it kind of stems back to social media, doesn't it? That they see. I like to call them now kind of highlight players. Like obviously he's a great player, but you look at Neymar before he came to Barcelona. You saw tons of clips of him. Rainbow flicking, taking everyone on, winning penalties with his skills and that. But sometimes maybe the less noticed players are your Xavis of the club, that kind of will sit back and play the easy passes, but are really, really kind of effective, even at a younger age. Does anyone else want to chip in with this?
I think I'm the same in the idea that as the start in the game, the foundation phase, they need to get used to having the ball and kind of, like we say, look after it, stay on the ball, stuff like that. We need to make them confident with the ball first. Because for me, if I'm starting to teach under 7s, 6s, 5s, whatever, to pass the ball, I'm kind of telling them, when you've got it, try to think about giving it to someone else, which personally I don't want. I'd rather have a player who wants to take people on than just give the ball away to someone else every time they get it. I kind of think when they first start, keep the ball to themselves, be selfish, and then as they grow older, it's kind of, as the decisions come into it more, the decision making, that's when we kind of start thinking, right, did you think about the pass? Could you have done the pass? Would that have been better? I think as they get to, I'd say under 9s, that's when I really start trying to focus on, did you make the right decision? Did you think about passing it? If it's no, what are the benefits of that?
Yeah, I think kind of you touched on it really quite nicely there, Jamesy. That kind of there's two stems to go down with the ball, isn't there? Well, three if you class in a shot. You know, you got pass or dribble. And if you actually look a step back, it's actually about decision making. So are we actually training decision making the right way? You know, are we when someone doesn't maybe fails to dribble past someone, we take them actually a step back and say, you know, look at that again. Did you make the right decision? And then they might step back and go, oh, there's a pass over there, or do you know what? Yeah, I was actually right to take that defender on, and kind of whatever they think, we've got to support. Plowman, I noticed you want to jump in there.
Yeah, just I've got quite a different opinion on that. And having coached under 7 boys and then under 9s as well, I think having the dribblers, it's not about the actual dribble, but it's making that child fall in love with the ball. Because when you look into under 4 to under 10, 11, you actually want to get these children to fall in love with the ball and play football. And then later on, you're looking to coach them actually football. Where coming out from total football or from even the cover coaching, that's actually the 1v1s and love the ball. Don't give it away. Love the ball. Use the space in the correct time. And then later on, we build up on having to actually coach them when to pass, when is the good decision or not.
Yeah, I think you kind of reverted back to it then about the decision making as well, didn't you? That, you know, it kind of does all stem back to that as well.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. Then, like you say, it's all about loving the ball and stuff. So when you obviously our rival activities, so everybody's got a ball, right? And they can dribble as much as you want. But then there's children that once you take once you only have one ball and you're asking the kid to take play on and enjoy that part of the game, how do you help them out? And even if you can tell them all the tricks in the world, but there's kids that are still in situations will never do it. And if you are trying to emphasize dribbling, even at a young age, I mean, I get that a lot as well. I mean, we get that everywhere. I'm sure we all do get kids that always will try pass the ball, even when they shouldn't. How do we get them into the game more engaged about, oh yeah, you don't have to dribble, but what can we do there?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's one big thing's how we deal with it as a coach. So when they're in the foundation phase, they're looking for that well done, brilliant, well done, like the parents are cheering, which they think they can only get if they're the ones who dribble past 5 players and then score. So for me, it's about, with my under 8s, under 9s, 9 times out of 10, I would praise the player who set up the goal more than the person who ran through everyone and scored. But I think at the start, I was very much, right, he or she scored the goal, well done to them, praise them. But then when you start praising the player who did, sometimes they beat 5 players, then they put a pass in the middle and that person scores. As long as you praise the one who passes as well as the one who scores, I think that's how they start thinking, all right, well, if I do that pass, then I will get recognition, which I think some of them look for.
Yeah, definitely. Harry, just kind of touching on the foundation phase. Obviously, we spoke about it at large in the British game that it's a lot of emphasis on owning the ball and, you know, being at one with the ball and 1v1s. What about you from the Spanish point of view?
Well, I think you've covered a lot of the factors, but I think there's one thing which is your age when you're discovering your body. So when kids are growing up at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're discovering a lot of their body. So to discover their body alongside something that's moving in different directions, sometimes it's not that they don't want to pass. Sometimes they don't see the pass because they haven't got the capability yet to lift their head while the ball's at their feet. So what happens in Barcelona, for example, when they're at a young age, they encourage them a lot more to dribble with the ball and get comfortable on the ball and get comfortable while dribbling with the ball rather than worrying about the passes, because it's a lot easier to teach a player in the future to pass the ball than it is to teach a player to dribble with the ball at the age of maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. So, you know, the factors of while I'm growing and I'm working on my agility, coordination, and my initial steps in the game, if I can do that alongside with the ball, it's going to be more natural to dribble with it rather than to get my head up, stop, turn, pass, and whatnot. These factors, I think, come after you're already comfortable with the ball at your feet and you already can and you're already capable of doing it at some type of speed. So you need that time, I believe, at a young age to dribble with the ball and get comfortable with it. That's what I would say on the matter.
Question on that: How do people feel it would be? How would it look like? How would it work for coaches if we were to flip it and say we're not going to focus on the dribbler in the foundation phase, we're going to focus on the passer? Do you think it would look good? Do you think it would work out, or do you think it would be a car crash?
I just believe that until you're comfortable in any manner, you haven't got confidence. So if we start focusing on things that are too challenging, I've not only got to dribble the ball, but I've also got to have self-awareness of where everybody else is on the pitch to be able to pick that pass out. It's more complex as you go into passing. So as you go into, as we say, a 1v1 is always going to be easier than a 2v2. As soon as you put 2 defenders and 2 attackers, then you have to have awareness of what's going on in the rest of the field. So if I'm not comfortable with the ball at my feet and I can't lift my head and I can't see what's going on, then no matter how many times you might say pass it, if I can't see the pass, I won't make the pass.
Yeah,
That's
definitely. Some really valuable points from both sides there. Does anyone kind of want to contribute any last thoughts before we kind of move on?
I would actually add in, sorry to...
No problem.
I would add in, I actually read about some data the other day, which nobody, is kind of to do with the World Cup. And it related to the amount of bypass defenders there is before a goal. Meaning from, obviously, in each pass, there's passing with intent and there's just passing with the sake of passing, and obviously passing to bypass defenders can only come later on in the game once you're comfortable with the ball at your feet. And I thought the data was really interesting to see how the teams that bypass the most defenders through passing, so it is a massive part of the game, but also you need to know so many other conditions in technique to be able to get to that position where you can, bypass seven defenders with one ball. It's getting into obviously more as you get older, as we get older, as we develop certain aspects of the game. I think dribbling needs to be a given once you get to a certain age.
I think you kind of touched on it really nicely there. That there was in the book Mensch that I read that there was German clubs actually using that data to find out who they're scouting. Are their players actually being effective? And it looked at the German national team, and there's no real surprise that the 2 standouts, I think I'm 90% sure, were Cruz and Özil. The players that can see that pass. But then if you look at Özil as well, he's not just the player that can see the pass; he's also the player that can take on the player. Cruz is more known for his passing ability and his range of passing, but he then gave the ball to the next player who could then use his key attributes to actually go and unlock the defence even further. So it is finding that real fine balance within your team, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, really insightful first point. That plan and fly away, yeah.
And I just add, I've had to do for uni some research on the German philosophy and how they actually build their players and their path towards success. And if we look back into 2014 when Germany won 7-1 against Brazil, all the stats are saying Brazil should win. However, Germany used what is called packing, exactly what you're talking about. It's called packing. They teach the kids from young age. That's what you need to try to do to be successful in the game. It's not about how many passes you do, but actually when you're going to do it and when you're actually going to dribble the ball to go through lines of defenders and score.
Yeah, I think it all comes into play, doesn't it? That everyone's trying to find that 1% to be that bit more successful. So some really great stuff there, guys.
I touched on it last week. I think it was last week or the week before. A CPD thing we had with a goalkeeper coach from a local academy, and one of the things they look for from their goalkeeper, and I think it was under 12, so just past the foundation phase, was in a pass, so starting the attack from the goalkeeper. How many players can he eliminate from the game? Which is links to what Harry was saying about not just passing sideways for the sake of it, but can you go forwards with an intent? And I thought that was really interesting, seeing how a professional club do it with their goalkeepers, trying to take out 3, 4, 5 players to start off an attack. Thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, straight away, you're getting rid of a third of a team there straight away. It can only give you the positive insight to then go further and take out more efficiently, can't it?
Absolutely.
anyway, next kind of topic that we're going to look around and debate around is, should coaches get involved within sessions? Jamesy, do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, so just kind of opening it up to you guys, because I think there's positives and negatives for them depending on who you work with, what level they work with, and age-wise. But a bit of context from me, it's something I don't really do much with my under-9s, whereas with my under-8, me and the person who helps me, we often will, just as I think it touches on more than the tech side of training. It kind of, we see a real benefit on the social side and the psychological side of they kind of really enjoy having, oh, they've got to get past James, they've got to tackle James, stuff like that. It's not a full-on game, but we see the benefits of maybe 2 versus 5, just for a bit of fun every now and then. Just wondering what everyone's thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think the social side of it is very, very good. The players really enjoy when coaches get involved, because I think they like intent, they like really, really get going a bit more, and really like they just get excited a bit more. But for me, I don't think coaches should get involved. I think just let them, like you say, just let them have their fun. They should know whether the coach is there or not. They should always have that intensity to keep it up, to keep going. Because some players get more excited when they play against coaches, or when they play against their own players. They kind of drop their levels a bit. But as soon as the coach comes in, bang, they just pick it up a bit more. But so I would want my players to, whether their coach is there or not, they should always be the same level, the same intensity, the same.
I think, like you said, at their age as well, it's not just some kids, they pick up the levels when the coach might jump in and get involved. Some of them, though, the levels drop down. I've had it before when we have done it, just maybe one team's, maybe the downer player, and we feel like it would be right for us to go in, not 100%, but to like lend a hand. Some players just drop off straight away and think, oh, well, this is unfair. It's not fair that they've got you on your team, so it kind of drops off. So yeah, I see what you're saying there. It kind of has both effects, yeah.
I would have give you the balance point here. And yes, I have done it before, but by the FA, you are not allowed to do it. And if you do your child protection course, I've been lucky enough to work at schools as well. You are not allowed to join in the session from health and safety point. And if something happens to these children, or even if it's not you as a coach, if it's a sibling, you're allowed to come in and then gets injured or whatever, you get in trouble. So yes, it might act as a positive motivation to the kids for a certain time, but to protect yourself as a coach, I believe you should just stay as a coach rather than being a player.
Can I ask a question? What do we count as playing? So I would say a facilitator, someone who feeds the ball in. I wouldn't say that's part of playing, but do we count that as playing if they're having an impact from a certain point?
No, I mean, like, if you're acting as a goalkeeper, or if you maybe doing a phase of play or something, and you're acting as a goalkeeper to feed the ball in, I think that's fine. It's just, or maybe the outside, they can pass the ball to you, and you contact the player. I think that's fine. But obviously, being inside the session itself, running, passing, taking players on, or like you say, even though it's not full on, but being involved, making the decision, taking the decision away from them, making a great pass, where some in a game at their age would get that pass. They wouldn't get that perfect pass into the space for them to run onto. In a game, they would not have that player as such as yourself with that kind of football brain. It's their age, so they didn't. It's artificial. So I think sometimes it's not something that they would deal with on a game day. So maybe they're feeding the ball from the outside, maybe that's fine, but being inside the game, I think.
And also, if you feed the ball, yes, I agree. Sometimes it's good to have that control. However, you still restrict their decision making as players. Also, why would we need to join in a game? Does that mean as a coaches we're not prepared to be actually flexible and adapt our session if we have more players or less players than we prepare for?
Yeah, plan a I agree with that, to be honest, because I massively agree with that actually. That if you can't plan for say if you're planning for 12 and you get 9, you can still put on a game of 5v4 instead of your proposed 6v6, or you can add a floater, or you can add a goalie for a team, make it harder for one team. There's so many different variations of it you can do that actually it can actually be more stimulating for the players. They've actually got a focus at hand now. It's like they might have done, I don't know, finishing in the final third, and then all of a sudden one team's got a goalie. It's, you give them double points for scoring against the goalie. It's, oh, actually, right, I need to work harder to get into a good position. I need to think about actually where I'm finishing the ball in relation to where I am and where the goal is. And for the other team, it's as simple as get the ball in the goal, and then you flip it, you flip it around at half time, and, you're stimulating thought between both teams there, quite effectively, actually.
Definitely, I think that as well, where Ryan, it's not just being prepared for the actual exercise, but it's something we've always talked about in the past few episodes of knowing your players. So I know if I've got a goalkeeper, like you say, he could go on the team with less players, and then you could put maybe as a strong defender on the opposite side. So that's a challenge for them. That obviously they can't use their hands as a goalkeeper, but they've kind of have that. I've got to be the one doing most of the defending without someone behind us type of thing. So, like I say, as long as we're prepared for whatever situation, I think that definitely makes sense. How are you going to throw it to you? You've been quiet, Harry.
At the end of the day, yeah, well, this has been a long day. At the end of the day, I think like all of you touched on great points, and I think it really is down to the context. Obviously, if we're talking about a group of under 16s, under 18s, or even senior level, it's not the same as if we're talking about a group of obviously under 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It also depends on the context of how you're helping that team. There should be a fine line between demonstrating and taking part. I think demonstrating sometimes is lacked, meaning obviously the coaches don't have the ability to demonstrate what they're saying in theory. Maybe the players do, but I think there's a fine line because it's important for them to be able to see what you're trying to explain to them. So in theory is one thing, and obviously them being able to see it from somebody who's doing it is obviously going to give them a clearer picture of what you want. It's obviously then the fine line of what is taking part. I mean, is it somebody who's going at 100% or somebody who's going at 30% trying to keep the game going? There's a huge difference between a goalkeeper that goes in and balances the game out, so it's a balanced game, rather than it being 11-1 or something like that, and trying to keep the game going so everybody gets touches on the ball, for example. I mean, sometimes coaches can go and go, and Jimmy hasn't got any touches on the ball, and it's simply just to give him a few touches. You know what I mean? So there's definitely pros and there's definitely cons as well. I'm sure there's always going to be that coach out there that went in 100%, and after that happened, the FA decided to just tell us that we couldn't join in, which is sensible. But it's probably one or two coaches which were probably dickheads who couldn't control themselves and didn't read the context. At the end of the day, most coaches, I think 99% of the coaches, when they join on, or if they have joined in, there wasn't any bad intent or any will to win the game or anything like that, except for maybe that 1% that did, and then it's a rule. So yeah, I think there's a fine line between joining in, the context, the age group. It depends on a lot of factors. If we're talking senior level, what can't you join in? If we're talking 18s, 16s, can't you join in?
Yeah, it's a really great question, that, because some of the highlights you see, when some of the first team clubs in Premier League, they release some of the footage once a week. You'll see the coaches and the assistant coaches get involved in the rondos. They'll get involved in little stuff like that, and I think it's great for your team morale, laughing and joking before a session starts. But I think when it comes down to the nitty gritty, I think it's probably best that we kind of step back and let the players do what the players do, in a way.
I think joining that kind of age, it could be a bit dangerous for you as a leader if your quality is not there. Yes, in the beginning they will have fun, but later on they might see you as, why would I listen to that guy if he can't do that pass? So,
well, that depends on how you gain your respect. There's many ways of gaining respect from a team, and I think You know, you can have respect for somebody because he was a great player. You can have respect for somebody because he's a great person. You can have respect for somebody because he's a great leader. You can have respect for somebody because his tactical ability to position us on the pitch makes us win games. He has something that I don't. At the end of the day, it's what do you respect that person for? I don't believe you should respect a coach for his ability to play the game, because he's not there to play it. He's there to coach. So you should, you know, at the end of the day, his ability to manage the team, his ability to train, his ability to coach is what I should value him on, not his ability to play. That's what he should value me on. And having that self-awareness is definitely key.
That is definitely a topic we need to cover, isn't it, next time?
Yeah, that's a good one, that one.
Pros turn coaches.
Yeah, I mean, so with the under-18s at P&E Academy, Andy Finnis joins in. Sometimes Matt Craddock joins in. Matt Craddock doesn't move around that much. And I'm sure you know Andy Finnis doesn't move around that much either. But, you know, and sometimes they make mistakes, but I think the players still give them a huge amount of respect because of probably their position as a coach and what they've coached and what they've done as coaches. So, yeah, maybe playing ability is not, I mean, coach doesn't have to score the goals and stuff. So
Definitely. Any last points before we move on?
It's one of them things, like I'm saying sometimes we do it, plumbing, maybe we shouldn't do it, like you say, for specific reasons. But whenever we do it, it's kind of like, oh, the kids need a bit more fun, they need something different. I think if we were to do it every week, I think it would really quickly lose its value and it wouldn't be something we do. I think it's more of, if we do it, it's once every 4, 5, 6 sessions type of thing, just to kind of lift, like we say, the morale, because it's more of a social, psychological type thing. I think it's one of them things, if we do it too much, it loses the value.
I agree with that, James. Because, yeah, sometimes it's cool, like right at the end of the session where the session is it's dipping down a bit. And like Harry said, just say yourself, just pick it up for 5 minutes. Just to pick the players up a bit, get them going for about 5 minutes, just pick around the ball and, you know, and just finish the game off nicely. That's a nice goal. There you right. Just wait and you do it, and when you do it, it's very important.
I think we broke a tiny bit up there, Sage, at the end.
Yeah, I was just going to ask: is it my internet, or is everybody seeing Sage cut up a little bit?
Yeah, it's his mic.
I think if you sit back, Sage, I think it seems to work a bit clearer. Try that again.
Okay.
I think it sounds a bit better.
Yeah, maybe it's the mic. It's too close.
Yeah, just repeat that last bit for us, Sage.
I'll say I agree with James about when to do it and while we do it. Maybe it could be like the last 5 minutes of the training session where the intention of the game is dropping down. And coaches can just the last 5 minutes to finish off the session.
Yeah, we're struggling, Sage. We're struggling with your mic, mate, for some reason. Anyway, what we're going to do, because there's 5 minutes left on this call, if you want, we're just going to take a little quick tea break. Fill your cup up, and we'll send you another link. Okay. If you want to just check that out, Sage, or if you've got any headphones, it'll probably be a lot clearer. Okay. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. We'll send you the link. All right, guys.
Yeah, so welcome back to part 2 of episode 5, where we were just recently discussing should coaches get involved within sessions. We'll kind of do a quick summary on it. Sage, do you want to input your last point?
We'll try again. Yeah, I was just saying maybe for the last 5 minutes, like if the intention of the session is going down, maybe that's sometimes, like James said, when to do it. That could be the perfect time to do it, just to bring the intensity up again, just to finish off the session on a good note. If people are slacking off and are dropping off with their levels, I think maybe that's a good time. Some coaches can join in just to pick players up a bit more.
Definitely, yeah, I completely agree with that. Let's move on to topic number 3. So last topic of the day. So how important are formations in youth football? Harry, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, well, my question is basically, that really. I mean, a lot of people give, before every game we get these formations come up. A lot of people write them down. A lot of people analyze from them. And my question is really basically, in youth football, how important are they to you as coaches that probably work in the development phase?
I think for me, it's a lot more reference. I'm talking younger age groups, Harry, whereas your players are older and on the different side of it. But for me, with when they're under sevens, under eights, under nines, it's kind of more reference points than fixed formations and positions. So what I tend to do is play like a diamond, so a defender, left midfield, right midfield, striker. That's how they start the game. I think that's probably the only time you'd ever see that. If you were to have a drone up above the pitch, I think kickoff is probably the only time you'd see that. For me, it's more so having those reference points of defender. What do you see? Can you see your wingers? Can you see your striker? Can you not see your goalkeeper as much as possible? Obviously, on the wings, how close can you make the white lines of the sidelines and stuff like that? And defence up to the halfway line, goalkeeper edge of the box. It's kind of more for me those reference points than the actual positions and the formations.
Yeah, I agree with that. That it is a reference point, and that especially at that younger age where they want to just go and chase the ball, I think it's really ideal purely for kind of dead ball plays. So your centre kicks, your goal kicks, your throw ins, your corners. Probably not your corners actually, but right, the ball's dead. I know where to go and stand now, and they start to occupy them spaces. But as soon as that game comes live, there's going to be so much interchange, and your left mid's going to be playing up front, your right mid's going to be playing at the back sometimes, covering round. That they're never really in that specific position, are they?
Yeah, well, what I did when I was coaching under sevens, instead of telling them you'll be center defender or you'll be center striker, because that automatically sets them into that position and they automatically get stuck there. What I used to do is tell them a numbers. And so if you're number 5, you can run from the goalkeeper towards and even cross the halfway line. If you're number 9, your job is yes to score goals. However, you still need to go and help in defense as well. So it's depend on the age. It's really, I believe, really important not to get them pigeonholed to one position, because that's what they get stuck with.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we don't pigeonhole them. That I was doing a webinar before that highlighted the importance of giving the players at such a young age this really wholesome experience of playing everywhere. They get that 360-degree kind of view of the pitch that they've experienced, looking at everything ahead of them, everything's behind them, everything's to the left or right. Being able to actually look 360 degrees, play 180 degrees along the white lines. And I think that we give them that experience, and then as they go into 12, 13, 14, they'll start to become maybe a stronger playing 180 degrees along the sidelines, or they might be really good at reading the game in front of them or holding up the play with their back to goal. And I think over time, we've just got to give them so many experiences that, they're kind of capable of playing any position that they want at such a young age, because they're a sponge at that age. They take in so much information.
Yeah, that's it. We've got to give them that.
Apply it.
We've got to give them that freedom, like you say, right? We don't want. Yes, you might be a defender. You might be number 5, as Plumman says. Ideally, you want to be the furthest one back, but you don't want them to kind of think they've got a force field around them of, right, there's the halfway line, kind of invisible wall. I'm not allowed to go past there because Ryan says I'm the defender. It's like, if they're on the halfway line, which you've told them, try and stay on that halfway line if we're attacking, and then the ball's 5 yards in front of them, you don't want them kind of looking at you thinking, can I go and get it? I've been told not to. We've got to kind of be realistic with it. And when they are 6, 7, 8-year old, they are going to all want to run everywhere. That's like we touched on the first topic. They want to love the ball. They want to love the game. So we've got to kind of accept that we need to give them a bit of freedom as they get towards, like Ryan says, the older age groups. I think that's when it becomes a lot more, okay, I'm on the right of midfield. I shouldn't be going past my right centre mid, for example. I shouldn't be really crossing over much, but we've kind of got to give them that freedom at the start to work from.
Definitely. Say, kind of working in the pre-academy with myself and doing a bit with the development groups and the older age group stage. Kind of what's your experience around this?
Yeah, like you guys say, it's all about references, isn't it? Because it's all about like when the ball is in a certain area of the ball of the field, who should be in that area, who should be marking the player. So yeah, I do agree. I don't think it's that important because, like you say, after a kickoff, sometimes you have the striker by themselves. They're going to do a long ball and to the right of the field, and sometimes you have like players on the right side get ready to go forward to run to try to get under the ball. And on the left hand side, there's no players there because they know that they're going to go long. They're going to try to get the ball onto the right side. So, like I say, it's just a reference and it's not that important. I don't think it, but like James said, if the ball, you don't want to be as a right midfielder on getting past your centre mid on the left side. So, like I say, it's just if you're giving them your right midfielder, your left midfielder, your striker, your defender, it kind of gives them like an area of the pitch where they should be. It kind of helps them understand where they should be during the game. So yeah, it's just like planting a seed of, okay, where should I be? If I'm on the opposite end of the corner, then I'm not in the right area. So maybe we just adjust to try to get to the right area of the pitch. But like you say, guys, it's all about references and just giving the right information at the right time.
Yeah, I like that we are giving them references, and that they should start to develop this picture of, if I'm playing right midfield, I should be able to see on my left shoulder. If I'm looking forward, I should be able to see my centre mid to my left. If I look straight, I should be able to see my striker at the corner of my eye. But we've talked about kind of how they're not important, kind of they're only reference points. But if they're not important, kind of, do we just let them play a free for all, or do they have some significant value?
Well, that was going to be my next question. It's like practically we've all kind of agreed that it's not important, but okay, let's flip it. A team goes out without a formation.
Well, depend what age we're talking about. Because if we're talking about going into academy and then 12 upwards boys, then you definitely try to well, you don't try, you do teach them different formations, because you have to prepare them for football in 10 years time. So you definitely will be coaching them, playing with 3 defenders, 4 defenders, 5 defenders, definitely with 2, 3, or even 4 midfielders, 2 strikers, single striker. That's something above a certain level. We'll definitely coach them, teach them. But for the kids under 10, I don't think it's that important.
So what are we considering? This is maybe the thing. What are we considering a formation being? Is what James said before, one staying at the back, one each side and one up front, are we considering that a formation or not?
People really different. To be honest, I believe formation is a marketing to sell you the game before it started.
Yeah, give a basic idea. Yeah, because a lot I know for a fact, a lot of coaches have a formation in transition, another formation in offensive play, another formation when they defend, and another formation in, so at the end of the day, one comes up on the TV that gives us probably a brief idea of where the players are going to exactly be. But obviously then what you guys were saying, if I'm not mistaken, obviously you coached the foundation group, they need a basic understanding of where they should be. How many defenders are going to be in front of the goalkeeper? How many players are going to be wide? So are they or are they not important in youth football? So without that, what would it be?
Something I've used with like first starters. So on our under 7s team, I needed to do a few sessions with them before they started like practicing to play. So I got some like flat markers, like cones that don't disrupt the pitch, and just put them down as the positions, like defender, like I say, 2 wingers, striker, and just said whenever, if it goes to the goalkeeper, just drop back to them positions, just to kind of get used to going back to there. But then, like I said earlier, as the ball's in play, it's not going to stay like that. You're going to always you might have the most eager kid on the left who wants to chase it all the way to the other side.
Your initial training, it starts from that point. So if you didn't have that, then we're not saying that we're from having a formation we're going to get success in the sense of everybody's going to know exactly what they do and what their roles are. But without it, what have we got? That's my question. Do we lose a lot without it?
We have 1v1 dribblers. We have decision makers on the pitch, and we as a coach can give them reference that if, let's say, we lose the ball, can we get as quick as possible behind the ball to then protect the goal? If we win the ball, can we support? Rather than, as I said, you're a defender and this child is standing there because he's scared to cross the half line.
I think quite a nice one would be like looking at that, kind of finding a balance there is what, I don't know, once every month, letting the kids maybe organise a formation, let them get together, come up with what amazing their idea they may have, and let them actually do it. And say if they leak 4 goals in the first 10 minutes, who's going to be your leader and step up and, oh, guys, we need someone to go back there because we're 4-0 down already.
Well, the game definitely teaches you, I agree. The game will teach you.
Exactly. So
where you need to be.
Getting that point, getting the point that they're as important as you make them as a coach, but the player will soon realise that, I'm a leader, I can maybe influence how we set up because, I can tell people to do this and they'll respect me for it, or I can do it myself. And I think that kind of chaotic 10 minutes at the start, after you've let them kind of take ownership and do it themselves, could be a real eye opener for them all.
I think we've got to try and create that environment, Ryan. So lots of people, yes, they might be listening and thinking, "Oh, what a good idea," but we kind of need the 2 teams to do that. Lots of people think if I was to go in,
100%.
Although it's non-competitive at their age, if I go on a Sunday morning and say, right, my bunch of 8-year-olds, you can decide what formation you play and decide who's playing. Quite a few coaches will probably think, but then the other team are going to be better organised. They're going to be able to counter-attack. But for me, that's not the important bit. Like we say, let the game be the teacher, and then it might go completely wrong in the first quarter of the game. But as long as we use it as a tool to improve them and make them decisions, I don't see why not. Even in a training environment, like I train alongside, so my under-8 team train on one side, the other under-8 team on the other side. That's a perfect environment for me to go for something like that. No one's going to care if it's 6-0 after 10 minutes because it's training.
I also think you can develop training sessions that will teach the players to a certain extent where they need to be depending on the scenario. That's what I think Sage or Clement said before, like adapting your training sessions for the actual training to be a part of that process, rather than just getting to the game. Throughout the week, we've got so much time that we can set and adapt our training sessions to be beneficial for the players to understand the game. This is where I enter with all this ball mastery that's happening now in lockdown. And we're just seeing loads and loads of ball mastery, but not many real context situations. So I don't believe, even though some players might be, dedicating a lot of time towards their technique, that they're going to be very far ahead of the player that hasn't been doing anything. You know what I mean? I don't think without the real context, I don't think you can improve an amount that is enough just by playing with the ball. But we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you say, Harry, I think a lot more will learn from, like you say, watching the game and learning the game during this time will probably be a bit more beneficial to them than
absolutely, James.
mastery.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I think kids should watch more football on TV. I think not just for the dribblers and the passes, but as a tactical point of view. Also, maybe learning about formations and whatnot. How not who we call it? Who's the best player in the Premier League right now? Kevin De Bruyne. How he moves the ball in midfield and what he does in midfield. When Man City have the ball, what does he do? When Man City don't have the ball, what does he do? And I think kids will learn more watching a game, sitting down watching a game now, instead of going outside and playing with the football.
Yeah, I like that, Sage, but I agree with that completely because
I don't think kids watch football enough. I don't think they do.
No, definitely.
I think it links back to what you were saying earlier, right, about highlight players, doesn't it?
Yeah,
kids watch the Messi highlights, they watch the Neymar highlights, but if they were to sit for 90 minutes and watch
It'll
Messi
be
and
different.
Neymar, it'll be
different.
Well, I
absolutely.
kind of said that to yourself and Harry the other night, that we were just on a phone call, weren't we? And that I watched Atletico Madrid versus Barcelona when Messi scores in the 86th minute, and for 85 minutes I thought Messi's not done much here, and then all of a sudden there was 10 seconds of absolute genius. But them 10 seconds is what millions see. Like, obviously, you know, we understand how good Lionel Messi is and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we don't recognise that Sergio Busquets has just had the game of his life.
Yeah.
But because we saw them 10 seconds of Messi taking on the world and playing a 1-2 off Suarez and finishing in the top left corner, we don't see that what Sergio Busquets has done all game. You know, something like that.
I think that links back to what we were saying earlier about how the coach deals with it. As long as us on the sidelines are the ones to be the first one to point to Sergio Busquets and say, right, if you didn't do all that you've done for 85 minutes, he wouldn't have went and scored that worldie goal and won us the game. So that's how we praise it.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that as coaches we recognise that as well as appreciating it. Before that, we've got to recognise, you know, we've not conceded, and then we've gone and got a bit of brilliance, but you know, we've not conceded. That could have been 1-1 or 2-1, you know, and we've got to recognise, maybe say to the back four, you know, you put in a hell of a shift there. Well done, give yourself a pat on the back, because you know, without that 0-0 almost safety, we wouldn't have gone and got that goal. But is there any kind of final thoughts before we call it a day?
I can share what I've done recently with the girls I'm coaching now. They're under 13, the FC Wimbledon. So their task was to go on the Premier League's website, and they had £100 million budget. So they were basically the manager. They had to create player profiles, their own formation, and everything in possession and out of possession, transitions and all that, without me giving them any information, just 100 million budget. So trying to provoke children to be creative I think is the key towards teaching them, rather than, as I said, pigeonhole, you are a defender. At 13, I don't think they are a defender or striker. I think they still can learn a lot. And by doing this player profiles analysis and watching football, as you say, guys, that's what will improve them.
Yeah, really nice. Any other kind of closing thoughts before we call it? No?
No.
All right, great stuff. Well, from a personal point of view, really enjoyed tonight, guys. It's been really insightful and some great topics discussed and some great back and forths going on. Like always, we really appreciate your time for coming on and giving us your insight. Yeah, is there any last words from anyone?
No, thanks for having.
Yeah, go ahead, Sid, sorry.
No, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Harry, James, Plumman. I really enjoyed that. It was quite good.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, guys, really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
See you guys.
Stay safe, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.